Let me say something about our next conversation. It's going to be hosted by someone who's completely core to the Growth Summit. She's a friend, she's a colleague, she's the co-founder of the Growth Summit. If you don't know her already, you absolutely should know. Let's hear it for Janet Coyle, everybody. Janet's here. Always good when you hear our next very special guest whooping the interviewer. This is good, I approve. We like this. But Janet is completely awesome, Managing Director at London & Partners, of course, but absolutely by the side of so many companies going global over many, many years. So thank you, Janet, for what's about to follow. Let me introduce, just very briefly, and then we'll get into the conversation, Lord Chris Holmes, of course, a member of the House of Lords, an absolutely passionate advocate for innovation, for inclusion, helping us to think about the future of artificial intelligence. It would be completely remiss of me if I didn't point out that he is also Great Britain's most successful ever Paralympic swimmer, winning no fewer than 9 Olympic gold medals. And I don't know how he's packed it in. He's also been a solicitor. He's also been a member of the Disability Rights Commission. And most importantly, we're hugely pleased that he is here at Future Horizons here today. Please welcome Lord Holmes and Janet Coyle.
Okay. So if you spin round. Just spin round a little bit. Bit more, bit more, bit more. There you go. Okay. Thank you for that big, big cheer. Reminds me of being at the Olympics again. Or the Paralympics. Oh, Chris, Lord Holmes, what an honour this is to have you with us today. Absolute privilege.
Not at all.
Is it all right if I call you Chris?
I think you should.
Thank you. First of all, a little bit about Chris Holmes. We will get on to be talking about AI and blockchain and what we're here to talk about. But your journey, I mean, I've known you since London 2012, but your personal journey has been one of defiance, to losing your sight at the age of 14, going on to, graduate in law and then go on to be the best British Paralympic swimmer ever, 9 gold medals, and then going on to do all this incredible innovation policy in the House of Lords. There must be this incredible mindset of determination, and I wondered if there was anything you could share, particularly to entrepreneurs in the room, just what has fueled your drive to be so successful with the challenges that you've been faced?
Well, thank you very much indeed, Janet. You can see why Janet is brilliant at PR and promotion. I mean, check it out. She's, in the words of the great Alan Sugar, you're hired.
Thanks, Chris.
And great to be here. What a fabulous energy in the room. You've all done well. You've waited maybe 3 hours-ish, but now it's happened. You've got your first dog on stage.
Sorry, yes, this is Nancy, everybody. A big round of applause for Nancy, who got...
Everything is improved with Labrador. And that is all you need to know about branding. But truly, I've been incredibly fortunate. I grew up in the West Midlands, went to what was described as the worst comprehensive in the county. I'd like to think that some of the things I did helped to give it that reputation. And there was no aspiration, no expectations for us at all. And then one night I went to bed, I was 14, woke up and couldn't see. And I had to rebuild everything. I knew how to read, I knew how to write, I knew how to swim. I knew not how to do any of that, not being able to see. And what I learned in those first few days and weeks, difficult, so difficult days and weeks, was the power of the team, because it's the people around me that pulled me through. I wouldn't have known the word at the time, but I learned that it's all about inclusion. I wouldn't have known it was what was going on, but it was about innovation in the mix. But really, I think the great good news for everybody, whatever we're involved in, startup, scale up, whatever, there are so many elements But really, it comes down to leadership, it comes down to collaboration, it comes down to the broadest definition of innovation. And here's the greatest good news of all. It comes down to just being prepared to work really, really hard. And that can sound asinine, but I think there's a real magic in that, because that makes it accessible. It makes it inclusive. If you're prepared to do it and get people around you and build that inclusive culture and get committed to the mission, stunning things not just can, stunning things do happen.
Oh, wonderful, Chris. So then when you think about the world we're in now, we've had lots of conversation this morning around, obviously, AI, which is the word of the now. What do you think our UK ecosystem, do you think we're ambitious enough? Do you think there's enough of that support mechanism there to help us thrive in this exciting sector?
I think there's a lot more that needs to be done. There are some good things happening. Matt Clifford's AI Opportunities Action Plan, January 13 this year, a very good document. As we all know in this room, it's all about the delivery, though. I think the government haven't got a coherent and consistent strategy across all departments and all things where we'd want to see this. And the crucial missing piece of the jigsaw, as Sean Connery's arrived, jigsaw. I told Janet we should not have had margaritas before we came on stage.
I slipped it in.
But she wouldn't have it. She wouldn't have it. And I'm grateful. But no, the missing piece of the jigsaw is certainly the right legislative and the right-sized regulatory approach. Because without that, you don't have that spearhead of what we're trying to do as a UK, economically, society, the whole thing. What does AI mean in every possible context across this great, great nation?
And how do we then build that as a government, as you say, but then getting that balance of competition? We want to be at the front, don't we, of this big global race, but also ethical. What's being done to help to strike the right balance there?
For sure. And I think, firstly, we have to slay a couple of falsehoods, really. And the first tedious false dichotomy, which recurs from time to time, and it's very, very dull, and that says we can either have regulation or we can have innovation. Now, everything in history, not least recent history, tells me that's complete nonsense. We all know bad regulation. There's a fair amount of that out there. But that doesn't mean regulation is bad. That means that's bad regulation. I think everything tells me right-sized regulation, good for innovation, good for investment, for consumer, for citizen, for creative, good for our country. And what should right-sized regulation look like? It should be agile, dynamic, adaptable, principles-based rather than prescriptive, and crucially, it should do exactly what it's seeking to do and no more than that. And I think we need to crack on with that, because the EU got out of the traps first with the EU AI Act. It's a valiant effort, but it's problematic. It's just shy of 1,000 pages. I've read them all, so you don't have to. And what I believe is that we need something in the UK which puts the UK position forward. So I introduced a private member's bill, my AI regulation bill, in November 2023. And the EU AI Act is just shy of 1,000 pages. I did my bill in 9 clauses, so you decide which you prefer. But what I had at the heart of it was this sense of a principles-based, outcomes-focused, inputs understood approach. That is the way, not only, I think, to get this right, but to have the clarity, the certainty, the consistency that business, that investment, that innovators need, and to give that very UK-specific, the UK sweet spot on this. Because finally, when anybody says, this is so different, this is so new, we shouldn't have regulation or legislation, well, that's just been the cry of the maverick, of the pioneer through the ages. But the reality is, who would invest in a market where there were no rules? Who would innovate in a market where there were no rules around those innovations? Right-sized regulation, good rules, and the phenomenal advantage we have in this country of common law. Adaptable, agile, stable, understood, and deployed right around the world. I think it's one of our greatest and yet massively underplayed assets and advantages.
Yeah, nice. And you touched there on the word agile. It's having that agility, isn't it, so we can keep pace. Because I think we were chatting last week about what's happening in Europe, and actually we had a speaker from Meta on our panel earlier talking about some of the challenges in Europe because they have set regulation probably a little bit early and without that agility. But how do you then win the hearts and minds of the public around the UK? Because we can't, it's great, we've got a room full of technologists, academics, policymakers, but there's a lot of people out there who are still a little bit baffled, a bit sort of wondering what AI and this new technology is it a force for good? What are we doing as a government to try and bring the public with us? For sure, and it's why Clause 6 in my AI regulation bill I keep advertising it. Come check it out. It's good. It's only 9 clauses. I've told you honestly. You can do it. You can do it in your lunch, 10 minutes, not even lunch hour. Clause 6 is the most important clause, and I've always said that because that's all about public engagement. Because it doesn't matter how good the technologies are. It doesn't matter how good all of that is. Without that public engagement, without being able to answer the question to each and every citizen, what's in this for me? Why should I care about it? Why should I get involved? It doesn't matter how good the technologies are. It's pointless. And worse than that, what is likely to happen if we don't have that really meaningful public engagement and public discourse, what's most likely to happen is the people in the know, the sophisticated investors, and people with the social and economic capital will be able to reap so many of the advantages, and so much of the population will be effectively shut out, not being able to get the upside, but may well be suffering the downside of this. And are we doing anything to bring them with us then? What are we doing to engage the public? I think from a governmental point of view, not so much. I think when we look at organisations such as Ada Lovelace Institute, fantastic. When we look at what Demos are doing with their public engagement, so there's great civil society and third sector organisations doing really good stuff. Myself and colleagues in the Lords are doing what we can, but we need that national engagement. I'll give you one tiny example, and you may well have heard of this, so I'll be brief. We know how to do this, because look at IVF, in vitro fertilisation, when that was thought about. What could be more science fiction? What could be more terrifying for people than bringing human life into being in a laboratory test tube? Why is it now seen not only as a phenomenally successful part of all our societies, better than that, why is it just blended into the background? Because a colleague of mine, the late, great Baroness Warnock, had the Warnock Commission going around the country, talking to people, where did they think the perimeter should be drawn? What were their concerns? What were their hopes for this new technology? We know how to do this. I think the government should lead, and we absolutely need them to. Yeah, great example there. And if you had a magic wand and there was one policy or an initiative that you could create, get government behind to future-proof the UK in terms of the AI ecosystem, what would that be? You say if. Go for it then. What's your new policy? I can't share it obviously openly. That would be you've got to decide what the IP around it is first. No, it really goes to everything that we've talked about. It has to be engagement, debate, discussion, because the power of everybody not only having a voice, but being enabled to use that voice and put that voice in. And I guess what that then looks like is very much from the grassroots right their way across society and the economy. Everybody being able to play their part in this, but there needs to be that leadership piece from government to understand that this is horizontal, cross society, cross economy. So really a specific, well, I'd like to see the government get on and launch their consultation paper and launch their draft bill. I still fear that the draft bill they're looking to put forward is somewhat vertical and doesn't appreciate that you need to have that horizontal view, because otherwise how will you experience similar
element of AI in medicine, in other parts of health, in defense, in education. You have to have that horizontal thread. And I think if everybody could focus on those two, what I believe are the most golden of golden threads of inclusion and innovation threaded through all of this, that would really give us the best opportunity, not only to succeed, but to have an adaptable, an agile, a really positive narrative, mission, vision to go forward together with these technologies, human leading on them.
Inclusion, it has to be at the heart of this, and we keep banging that drum, don't we? And you also do a lot of work voting reform and addressing public service, blockchain. I mean, from your perspective, Chris, how do you see sort of technology like blockchain transforming public services and accelerating some of the changes that we want to see?
Yeah, I think I've always been a rational optimist around all of these technologies, and blockchain being one of them. And it's fair to say blockchain isn't the poster child at the moment. It sort of had, as many of you in the room will know, in the mid sort of 2010s, you couldn't move for a pitch deck coming saying, the company is rooted in blockchain technologies. And you'd think, is it? And now that's transformed to, AI is absolutely core to everything we do. Is it? I mean, everyone knows how to spell AI on their CV, right?
Oh, yes.
But the reality is, I believe that blockchain will have at least as transformational impact across our economy and our society as the constellation of technologies known as AI will, because it gives that basis, not just for the transfer of value, but for the creation of value. And if you think about the potential for everything to potentially be on-chain, you look at stable coins coming through, broader digital assets, tokenization of real-world assets, the opportunities are truly worth engaging with. And here's the thing, if we don't, these things won't stop. We will just be allowing the dollarization of so much of this space. And that, by doing nothing, that will be a conscious decision that we just enable and allow dollarization. And it doesn't have to be that way. We need a fabulously plural ecosystem across all of this. And again, smallest example, but in some ways, sometimes you can see the world in a grain of sand. Look at just one tiny blockchain proof of value I was involved with, where through a really simple technology, we were able to give a digital ID, a wallet, tokens, and thus individual and collective economic empowerment to people in a refugee camp. If you can do it in that context, tout le monde.
Tout le monde, absolutely. Oh, Chris, it's wonderful to have you in the House of Lords actually driving this so forward with an inclusive lens as well. Absolutely brilliant. Our time is up, sadly, but I just want to ask you, given who we have in our audience, entrepreneurs, as I say, academics, policymakers, how can we help you? Is there one ask you have?
That's incredibly kind, and there is. I'll do one quick story before that, because Janet said we're almost at time, so there's always time to fit in one. And I can feel Ollie's already giving me a death stare, but I mean, what value is in that? He hasn't. That's going nowhere. He's going to have to throw something at me to make it work.
No, he's giving me the death stare.
Yeah, and he might. I think he's got a good pitching arm.
And Nancy's lying down, by the way.
Exactly, and the story involves Nancy, and because we're in the circle of trust here, this story is just amongst friends. It's always marvellous to remember our late Queen. And when I was going into the House of Lords 12 years ago, I just happened to be an event at the palace that she was at. I just thanked her for signing the document which enables you to go into the House of Lords. Yeah. And she just said to me, well, I think the dog will get a lot of sleeping done there. So that's just between ourselves. No forward broadcasting on that, because principles based, I've just deployed one of the most important principles. I'm trusting you on that. But here's honestly what I need from you, and I mean this, I absolutely need it. I need your intel, your thoughts. What are the barriers? What are the blockers? What are bits of intel? What's a report you might have come across that I might not have seen? I need all of that, honestly. So please do connect with me on LinkedIn at Lord Chris Holmes. I honestly mean it. I'll give you till midnight tonight to do that. But honestly, do be in touch on LinkedIn. I really need all of that intel because you are at all of the front lines in all the various things you do. I need all of that intel and engagement, so please do. It's been a total pleasure to be with you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you to Chris Holmes.